It was never meant to be found. Not by the public. Not by the press. And certainly not by Shen Yue. But somehow it ended up in her hands. And everything changed. What started as a quiet friendship on set slowly turned into one of the most complicated love triangles the entertainment world has ever seen. And now, with the leaking of a private letter, everything is unraveling. This is the story of Bai Lu's secret confession. And what Shen Yue discovered will leave you speechless. It was tucked inside a beige hardcover book. The kind Dylan Wang carries on set, always pretending to read during breaks. But someone left it unattended. Shen Yue, curious, thinking it might be a forgotten script, opened the book. But instead, she found it. An envelope. Cream-colored. Neatly folded. With her name not on it, but Dylan's. She hesitated. But curiosity, heartbreak, and instinct? They're powerful things. She opened it. And with that, the truth began pouring out. Bai Lu's handwriting was neat. Every word felt deliberate. Every sentence soaked in memories. I try not to fall for you, Dylan. I really did. But your silence spoke louder than words. Your laughter healed wounds I didn't know I had. Shen Yue stopped reading, her hand shaking. Was this from before she and Dylan had even started talking seriously? Or worse, during? You always asked why I never dated in public. It was because I was waiting. For you. And then it got worse. That night after filming, when you held my hand under the fireworks, I thought that was our moment. But maybe it was just mine. Shen Yue felt the weight of betrayal building. What many don't know is that Bai Lu and Dylan's connection began long before Shen Yue entered the picture. Before the fame. Before the rumors. Back then, it was just two struggling actors, bonding over auditions, long shoots, and late-night noodles. Their chemistry wasn't scripted. It was real. They just never told anyone. Because they thought maybe it was better that way. But hearts don't follow PR rules. And secrets? They don't stay buried forever. After reading the letter, Shen Yue didn't confront Dylan. Not immediately. Instead, she watched. She watched how Dylan reacted when Bai Lu walked in. She studied every glance, every smile, every silence. And she began to wonder, was she the placeholder? A temporary part of a love story that had already been written without her? One night, Shen Yue finally snapped. She asked him one simple question. Did you ever love her? Dylan didn't answer. That silence was louder than anything she had read in the letter. In an empty dressing room, Shen Yue waited. Bai Lu entered, unsure of what was about to unfold. Shen Yue held up the letter. I didn't mean to read it, but I did. There was no denial from Bai Lu. No shock. Just sadness. I wasn't going to send it, she whispered. But I had to write it. For myself. What followed wasn't a fight. It wasn't screaming. It was two women in pain connected by the same man. And yet somehow, both still cared for him. That's what made it worse. Hours later, Dylan finally opened his phone. Missed calls. Unread texts. And a picture of the letter. Sent by Shen Yue. He sat down on the cold floor of his apartment, reading every word. Then he stood up, grabbed his coat, and ran out the door. But before he could reach either of them, he woke up, gasping, sweating, his heart pounding. It was a dream. But the letter? The moment? The pain? They felt too real. He looked beside him. No Shen Yue. No Bai Lu. Just silence. Had he imagined the confrontation? Or was it a warning? Dylan poured water into a glass, hands trembling. He opened his drawer, pulled out a book, the one he always carried on set, and tucked inside, a letter, still sealed, still unsent, written in Bai Lu's handwriting. He stared at it. Was it always there? Had he forgotten? Or had his heart known, all along, what was inside, even before he read it? The next time Dylan saw Bai Lu and Shen Yue, they were both on stage, at an award ceremony. The tension? Undeniable. The love? Unresolved. But what no one knew was that inside Dylan's coat pocket was that letter. Still sealed. Still waiting. And as the cameras flashed and the music swelled, he asked himself, If I read it, will everything change? And that is where our story ends. Or maybe where it finally begins. Soft ambient background music fades in, with a slow camera zoom on Shen Yue's hands gripping the letter tighter. Studio microphone. And there she sat, Shen Yue, her fingers trembling slightly as she stared at the page again. The soft hum of the air conditioning was the only thing breaking the heavy silence in the room. The words Bai Lu had written weren't just love-struck lines. They were memories, moments, confessions, lines like, "You were never mine, Dylan, but every time you smiled at me, it felt like you could have been. If only for a moment." Shen Yue blinked, her chest tightening. This wasn't just a harmless letter. This was a heart being spilled onto paper. She reread a part where Bai Lu recalled a rainy night, something Shen Yue never knew about. "That night you stood outside my apartment, soaking wet, just to say you were proud of me. That memory never left me. Not even when she held your hand the next day." Shen Yue dropped the page. Studio microphone. "Wait." She held his hand? Was that to me? A haunting thought crept in. Had she been living in a version of Dylan's world where she thought she was the center? But in truth, someone else had already written themselves into a story? Studio microphone. As the letter continued, Shen Yue discovered something even more unsettling. Bai Lu had written about moments that never made it to the public eye, moments Shen Yue didn't even know had occurred. That day on set, when everyone left, and it was just you and me, you said you wondered what life would have been like if we had met earlier. I didn't respond, but I wanted to scream yes. I still want to. Studio microphone. Shen Yue's throat tightened. She remembered that day, but she wasn't the one there. She thought Dylan had gone home early. He hadn't. And suddenly everything blurred. The dinners. The glances. The odd coldness in Dylan's voice sometimes when she brought up Bai Lu. Was it guilt? Regret? Studio microphone. Unable to take more, Shen Yue picked up her phone and called Dylan. He didn't answer. Instead, she stared at the call log. 7 missed calls. All from him, from earlier that morning. She had ignored them, thinking it was another discussion about schedules. Studio microphone. And then the doorbell rang. She rose slowly, heart pounding. What if it was him? What would she even say? But when she opened the door, it was Bai Lu. Studio microphone. Her expression wasn't smug. It wasn't ashamed. It was tired. Eyes red. Shoulders heavy. She spoke first. "I didn't want you to find it this way." Shen Yue didn't respond. Bai Lu stepped inside without being asked. They sat down, across from one another like two rival queens in a silent chess match, but there were no games anymore. Just truth.